Welcome back to Seven Skills for the Future podcast. My name is Emma Sue Prince and I'm author of Seven Skills for the Future. And this podcast is all about developing 7 key skills that really help you live a happier life. And those skills are being adaptable, having empathy, being able to think critically, live with integrity, be proactive, be optimistic, and be resilient. And today I'm delighted to welcome Alison Rood to the show. She is a digital project manager and has had lots of experience in working with project and account management in digital media, marketing, branding, textiles, and manufacturing. So a lot of experience there. And I'm interested in talking to Alison today about the 7 skills and about her experience of them in her work as a digital project manager. But also, Alison is one of our lead trainers for our workshops. And she works with me with lots of different types of groups. But specialises in working with digital project managers, and it's about helping them to work on and develop and achieve those 7 skills. And I know it's a particularly challenging group to work with, so I'm really keen to know more about what Alison thinks about all of this and how she sees that applying to her work. So I'm delighted to welcome Alison to the show today. It's lovely to have you with us.
Hello, good morning, Emma Sue. Thank you very much. Lovely to chat to you too.
So I guess the first question I want to ask you is, if you're a digital project manager, it's quite a broad question, but if you are a digital project manager, which you are, and you work with them, why are these 7 skills particularly important?
Okay. Well, as a sort of digital project manager, and I've also been working with not only digital, but throughout my career, textiles and manufacturing, the same sort of things come up all the time. So it's this feeling of the pressure of we call them the big 3, which is the time, budget, and quality. And it's this balancing act of getting those 3 right in every project that you do. And so that can be quite a lot of pressure, and especially within digital, because the timeframes are very short. So you could be turning projects around in 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 weeks, but they are much shorter than I would say other disciplines or other industries that I've worked in. Say for textiles, which is much longer, that can take up to sort of 1 or 2 years, depending on the project. So you're sort of doing this balancing act, and this is where the 7 skills come in on a daily basis. I mean, I've got to use them. It would seem like every hour of the day, trying to balance these 3, looking after your team, and most importantly, looking after yourself. So yes, you need to manage the team around you, but you do need to manage yourself, and this is where those skills really come in, because you're constantly having to negotiate this. And there's lots of conflicting demands within the team, within the clients as well. So
could you describe for us a typical digital project? I mean, they may not be a typical one, but a kind. Just if you could give us a couple of examples of digital projects.
One of the more challenging ones, where you're getting lots of more people involved, and what I mean by that, sort of third-party integration projects. So this is where you'll have the team, which may be in-house, and then you're working with a third party. So, for example, you're working on a website build, and you've got in-house developers and designers. And then this website might be connecting to a CRM system, which could be, for example, Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics. And it's those sort of projects, which are always quite testing with communication and with people and the 7 skills, I would say, because now you've got not just the team that's you're working with in-house, but you've got like this extra team that you need to communicate with and along with clients. So there are multiple communication channels now, and then you, as the project manager, have to sort of bring that all together so that everyone is aware of what's happening. And I think that seems to be the thing with digital project management, and the way it's sort of going is we're into this what we call the 4th digital revolution. So with the digital still at its core, but now you're bringing in quite a lot of multiple disciplinary teams. So you may well be talking to not only technologists, you might be talking to biologists and biotech. It's trying to bring all these disciplines together, but you're still working with humans, you're still working with people. So there are still very common themes of how do you get this group of people to work together, and that's essentially what a digital manager's job is. They are a facilitator.
Yeah.
They are bringing all these people together to achieve this goal, which might be to produce a website, produce a system where you're filling out forms on a website and then filtering all that information, taking that, putting that into a CRM, and then there's further sort of stewardship of that information to other people. So yeah, it can be sort of a typical project.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot of different layers and a lot of different types of people that are working together, but what's binding you is this digital technical project. So you were saying that you've had to use all 7 skills. If I were to ask you, I mean, obviously they are all important and they overlap, as we know, but which would you say are perhaps the 3 most prominent skills that you use of those 7?
As you say, all 7 do overlap, but I would say the 3 core skills would be empathy, resilience, and adaptability.
Okay, let's talk about empathy first.
Okay, so empathy is a huge one. Because you're working with people, and it's how do you relate to people? And I've had to use empathy throughout my career and on a daily basis, because essentially, say you are the facilitator, but you need to be able to create a supportive and appreciative environment that's built on mutual trust and respect. I mean, it has to be built on trust. That really is the cornerstone of every relationship. And when you're in a pressurized environment, for example, you are pressurized by time and by budget and by quality, you really do need to create this supportive environment, which helps your team members excel and thrive in their respective skill sets and their disciplines and roles.
And how do you do that?
It's a very good question. It's really getting to know your team.
Yeah.
And that's not just through working with them, because you get to understand how do they take information, how do they simulate information. So as I sort of said previously, that you're working with different disciplines. So you may be working with people who are very data orientated. So when you're delivering information to them on a project, it might be that the way they absorb the information is very much sort of data or numeric led.
Yes.
Or if you're working with designers, then things might have to be more visual, because that's how they sort of intake that information. And you need to be tweaking how you're giving sort of tasks out to the team. And it's very important. And the only way you get to do that is to really talk to people and understand them, really.
Yeah.
And you need empathy to do that, because you really need to be in that moment and really listening to what they're saying all the time. And by that listening, you really start to gauge then how much information have they really taken in? Do they really understand it? So you kind of almost do a playback as well. I've just said this. Do you understand what I'm saying? And as you grow with the team, you find that you sort of get into a bit of a groove, and they understand what you're saying and they understand why you're saying it. Then you understand where they're coming from, because you need to work out, okay, why is a developer asking these set of questions, and they're doing it for a particular reason.
Yes.
Why is a developer asking these questions? You then need to bring all those different groups together, so you do have to understand what they're saying, and using empathy is absolutely crucial for this.
Yeah, because I can imagine if you only go in with your preferred way of communicating, you probably just leads to misunderstandings and delays, I guess.
Yes, and that's quite a learning curve, because you may have your own natural way of absorbing information or giving it out, but you need to sort of change that depending on the person that is sat in front of you. So you do have to change your style sometimes as well.
Okay, and the second skill you mentioned was resilience, I believe. Yeah, resilience.
Yeah, a big one, especially today, I would say in digital, with having to focus and keep focused, and that's incredibly hard. So this is where you need to build up your resilience skills, and this really helps because you're going to be, to use a quote about sort of curveballs being chucked at you, which we've heard quite a lot of. I'm sure you've heard that sort of phrase, and that happens on a daily basis. It would seem you're working on a digital project, and you've got to be able to respond to those. You're going to have a lot of aggressive deadlines. You could have quite a few setbacks. You've got ever-changing priorities from the client, and you need to learn how to bounce back quickly, not in yourself, but as a group of people and your team.
Yeah,
and if it's difficult, because sometimes you've got to accept these challenges, and really embrace them, and then try and look for sort of opportunities. How could I do it slightly differently? And then, things aren't always going to work out. Things do fail, and it's how do you cope with that failure as well? Do you go, oh, and it can really get you down, and it can get the team down, and then you go, right, let's talk about it. Let's review it. Let's see where we can do something different. Yes, we failed. Okay, let's try again. And this is where the growth comes, and it really does put you out of your comfort zone, I would say, your stretch. So, and that's where you and your team will do the most learning. And so, yes, building up the resilience is absolutely key.
And adaptability. That was the third one.
Yes. Yeah, that was my third one. Again, sort of, I've used it throughout career and life as well. And I think the other thing is these skills are not just you use it, you turn up and use them in the workplace. They stay with you through through when you go home and working with outside your working life.
Yes.
So, but yes, you do need to be more adaptable, especially in today's sort of fast-paced and working life. Things are just going to be chucked at you, and you've got to go, right, what am I going to do with this? But I think one thing in being adaptable, although you do get quite a lot of challenges and things thrown at you, you need to kind of take moments and build in that sort of gap between sort of the stimulus or the challenge that's been thrown at you, so that you're not always constantly reacting. And that's really a hard skill, I would say, or a discipline to get into.
Yes. I can imagine that's really difficult when you're right in the middle of something that's very fast paced and everybody around you is reacting.
Yes, and everybody just wants an answer, and you're like, right, well, whoa, let's just stop. Let's stop, and let's just think about this. Even if it's just for those extra few seconds, which sometimes seems like a lifetime, but you do need to put those in.
And do you find as a project manager that when you model these skills yourself, that kind of ripples out to the people that you're managing, the people that you're working with?
Yes. Yeah, I would say that. It's all about, it's sort of saying that, creating that environment. So it does have a ripple effect. And I think one of the loveliest sort of things is when you sort of introduce kindness to your work and to the people that you're with, and that definitely has a ripple effect. And I think we don't do enough of that in because of the environment being so fast. We don't think we have time for that. We don't think we have time to talk to people. We don't think we have time to really listen, and we do. We really do, and that is where that's going to help you. So it's sort of a bit of another part of the toolkit to have as a digital project manager.
And I imagine a lot of our listeners are identifying with this, even if they're not project managers, because of, we do tell ourselves we're too busy to take that time. So it's a story we tell ourselves, isn't it, really?
Yes.
Now, I know, Alison, that you have written a series of amazing blogs about these skills, and these blogs are for digital project managers. And at the end of the show, we'll let people know where they can find the blogs. But I thought it would be great to just finish up by maybe some tips from you on each skill.
Yeah, sure.
And then people can then, go to your blogs to read more about that.
From doing those blogs that I've written, there were sort of 5 top tips that people sort of resonated with the most. So from Adaptability, I wrote about holding your own, and this all relates to ambiguity, and this can set in a project when people are really unsure of what's happening. And this ambiguity has the potential to upset the balance of the project, very much so, and it can turn into chaos and confusion. And people just want clear direction of what they want. What should they be doing? Where is this project going? So I sort of talked more about that in the blog in terms of adaptability, and it is through your self-awareness as the project manager of how you're communicating. What is your communication style, and adapting it. It's all about context. You must context sort of set all the time, so people are aware of what's going on, and that will really help with when ambiguity is imposed on the project and on the team. And I think we sort of touched on it earlier about how that could be quite different to your own natural style. And this is where your leadership skills come in. And sometimes you need to be that authoritative. You need to have that authoritative making those hard decisions as well. So you do have to sort of tweak your own style and be aware of that. For critical thinking, there were 2 tips actually that people sort of resonated with, and that was I called it using your Cluedo skills. And I think right at the beginning we talked about name a typical project, and I kind of went straight into probably quite a tricky one in terms of a third-party integration project. But as you get more people and you get more teams, the number of assumptions can also increase, and you've got to be able to navigate that as the project manager. You need to take all this evidence, all this information that's coming to you from multiple angles, and they may be presented to you that is sort of someone is supporting their own point of view. And there may be lots of gap filling, and it's only from their perspective. And you've got to start deciphering that. You've got to get your Cluedo skills on.
Good tip.
It's separating the facts from opinions and continually questioning.
Yeah,
that's really key.
Yeah,
continual questioning, and then that will help to lead to a clearer, more rational decision making and coming up with conclusions and things. The other bit, so I said sort of 2 things for critical thinking. The other one, which when we talk about empathy, we sort of say about putting yourself in your own shoes, but I also think that's kind of critical thinking as well. And I mean that because you're trying to adopt different perspectives. And you've got to have an increased awareness. And I think especially with, I was going to say with digital, but with all sort of industries these days, and this is the cultural differences. So if you are working with teams, and I work with teams across the globe in terms of from Australia to America to France, and you've got to be aware of those cultural differences all the time. So you do need to use your critical thinking skills when it comes to that. And again, using that active listening, really listen to what someone is saying, and it goes beyond the words. When you've got people in front of you, or even if you don't, and you're talking to them remotely via Slack or by Skype, you can still pick up a lot of information from the way, the tone that they're saying things as well. So I suppose it's just building up lots of evidence of the people that you're working with.
And really sharpening your awareness, right?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, any more tips?
I've got one. What have we got to for? Well, I think the other one, which I think we should end with resilience, because that you need that. You need that to really, really boost you, to have that sort of solid and robust foundation. And you will find that the more people that get involved in a project, they can literally drain you. Yes, you do need to bring in those resilience skills. And you can feel quite fragmented sometimes and you can learn, can burn out quite quickly sometimes. And I know that's a big thing that's certainly come up in the workshops I've done with digital project managers, is this burning out. So we do need to boost our resilience skills for sure. And that can be done through focusing on looking after yourself. So that includes getting some sleep, which, I hold my hands up. I find that difficult. Sleeping is a big thing, but my goodness, it helps. You've got to try and get sleep in. Eating good food, exercise, feed the mind, body and soul. I know in previous your podcast, Emma, so you talked a lot about how to start a great morning, great ways to do that. And one of the tips I've certainly used is having the lemon water.
Yes.
And meditation, which will really help we talked earlier about the focus.
Yes.
Getting your focus and just giving you that extra bit of time before you react to something. So it's all those great things to help build up your resilience.
Thank you so much. Those are such great tips, and I know our listeners will find this really valuable. If they want to find out more about you and your blog and the work you do, where can they find you, Alison?
So they can go to the Unimenta site, and I've got a page specifically for digital project managers. So that's unimenta.com/digital project managers. That's where you can find links to the blogs, carry out webinars and workshops as well, as we've spoken right at the beginning.
Great, thank you so much, and we will have those all in the show notes for you as well. And remember, if you would like to read more about the skills or go into them in more depth, do buy the book 7 Skills for the Future. It's available in all major bookstores and on Amazon. And thank you so much for listening, and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the 7 Skills for the Future podcast. You can find all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where podcasts can be found. If you want to make sure that every new episode ends up on your phone, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, why not give us a 5-star review so more people can find out about the show? If you'd like to stay in touch or send in one of your questions for Emma Sue, then go to Unimenta on Twitter, 7 Skills for the Future on Instagram, or at unimenta.com. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, there's the book, 7 Skills for the Future, available at booksellers everywhere.